Shalom, shalom to the Mishpachah of Yahweh.
Shabbat shalom.
Welcome to the Yahweh and Yahshua Speak television show, the Hebrew husband and wife ministry. We're going to start out in Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter. Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter. And this is part 2 of the lesson that we started last week called A Programmed Gentile Mind.
Praise to my Yah.
A programmed Gentile mind. Start right in Deuteronomy 23.
Hallelujah.
Deuteronomy chapter 23. And we want to read verse 2. Deuteronomy chapter
Hallelujah.
23 and verse 2. Read.
Praise him.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 2. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of Yahweh.
So Yahweh had us look at this word in depth in the first show.
Okay.
And but the scripture says a bastard shall not enter into the temple of Yahweh, the congregation, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation or the temple or the family of Yahweh. And I said in the first show that this Hebrew word was used 3 times in the Old Testament. Well, it's used only 2 times in Deuteronomy and in Zechariah, the 9th chapter, that we already read. So that was a misstatement. So it's not 3 times in the Old Testament. This word, bastard, the Hebrew word that's used for it, it's only in 2 times in Deuteronomy and Zechariah, the 9th chapter. But Yahweh said this word, bastard, is talking about adults, 20 and older. It does not refer to babies born from unmarried parents.
Tell it like it is, Rob.
Leviticus, the 19th chapter.
Tell it like it is so we can know.
Leviticus, the 19th chapter.
What did you say?
Leviticus, the 19th chapter. So
Hallelujah.
this word does not refer to babies born from unmarried parents.
Tell it like it is,
But our
Rob, so we can
program,
know.
Gentile Mind Society, has tried to make it apply to them.
Yeah.
So that's why Yahweh wants us to know the truth,
Hallelujah.
and then we can comfort those that have been in that situation.
Yes.
I told you that me and my 2 brothers and my older sister were in that situation where our parents had us as teenagers and all before they got married
Teach it like it is.
at
Tell
the
it
age
so we
of
can
20.
know.
And so if I with a programmed Gentile mind that I used to have,
Right.
I would be thinking that I couldn't come to Yahweh. I couldn't be a part of the family of Yahweh. I couldn't come to the temple of Yahweh.
Wow.
But Yahweh blessed us to be able to go back to the original
Yes,
language
hallelujah.
so we can see what Yahweh is actually referring to.
Thus says Yahweh.
About who cannot enter into the congregation of Yahweh
Hallelujah.
to the 10th generation.
Praise him.
Leviticus, the 19th chapter, and we want to read verse 20.
Hallelujah.
Leviticus chapter 19. We're looking at this word now
Hallelujah.
so we can see what Yahweh is actually talking about.
Yeah.
And he's talking about unmarried men and women or boys and girls
Okay.
that engage in sexual relations.
Tell it like it is,
Leviticus,
Rob, so we
19th
can
chapter.
know.
Let's read verse 20.
Praise
please.
him.
Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 20. And whosoever lieth carnally with a woman that is a bondmaid, betrothed to a husband, and not at all redeemed, nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged. They shall not be put to death, because she was not free.
All right, so here Yahweh talks about unmarried males and females coming together as
Okay.
lying carnally
Okay.
with a woman. It says, and whosoever lieth carnally with an Isha, that's a bondmaid, engaged or betrothed to an Ish, your husband, and not at all redeemed, nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged. They shall not be put to my vet, talking about the man and the woman, because she was not free.
Okay.
But a Gentile programmed mind thinks having sex without being married is normal. Go to Proverbs, the 16th
Yeah.
chapter.
Tell it like it is,
I know
Rob.
that's how I was trained.
Proverbs, yeah.
But I understood there was something wrong with that because
Right.
I went through a lot of hurt growing up with my mother and father being divorced because they started having children when they were children, got married after they had all 4 children, and then was scrambling around trying to get jobs and everything. And my father went to the Air Force to have a job so he could support the 4 children, but he's 20 years old, so he had just turned into an adult.
Right.
And he had a whole family. And so they had doomed themselves from the start. Proverbs the 16th chapter. And that's why Yahweh gives us these guidelines.
Yes,
and lets
praise
us know
you, Daddy, Yahweh.
that we all used to have this program, Gentile mind. But now he's reprogramming us.
Yes, he is. Yes, he
And
is.
we want to be sure we submit and surrender to
Yes.
being reprogrammed.
Hallelujah.
But
Yes.
a Gentile program mind thinks having sex without being married is normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That mindset ostracizes, criticizes, and makes boys, girls, men, and women seem abnormal
Yeah.
when they are not engaging in sex
I know,
outside
right?
of marriage.
I know,
Proverbs
right?
16th chapter and verse 25.
Hallelujah.
Proverbs chapter 16
Praise him.
and verse 25 reads,
Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 25. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death.
Yep.
so Yahweh said there's a way that seems right to a programmed Gentile mind. That's the ways of man.
Yep.
That seem Yamein unto a Adam, but the end thereof are the ways of Mavet. So if babies result from having unmarried sex, a Gentile program mind gives its own solutions. They consider that a problem. They know it's wrong, so they make up ways to clean it up. So Sister Darab, let's read from www.worldometers.info and see what they say.
Okay. www.worldometers.info writes, according to YHWH, every year in the world there are an estimated 40 to 50 million abortions.
Right.
This corresponds to approximately 125,000 abortions per day.
So now these babies are suffering
Yeah.
from these people coming together and breaking Yahweh's law about what he said, lying carnally with a woman.
All right.
They said there's 125,000 abortions every day. Babies being murdered every day. So what they're doing is subconsciously they know it's wrong. So they try to make legal what Yahweh said is not to be done.
Right. Tell like this so we can know.
So let's read supreme.findlaw.com, see what they say.
According to supreme.findlaw.com, whose surname should a child have? Can an unmarried mother give a child the father's surname?
So now this is what a programmed Gentile mind does to try to clean up them breaking Yahweh's law, which is not coming together and having sex without being married. All right, so whose surname should a child have? So this is their solution. Well, one of the solutions is just kill the baby. Now here, they're going to try to clean it up another way. All right, go ahead, sis.
In some cases, the law prohibits an unmarried mother from giving her child the putative father's surname without his consent or an adjudication of paternity. Brianna T. Shaw Marshall lives with her mother, but she carries her father's surname. Her mother, who was never married to her father, petitioned a New York court for permission to change her daughter's surname to her own. The court noted that under New York law, neither parent has a superior right to determine the surname of a child, but it still denied Brianna's mother's request on the ground that Brianna's father had done nothing sufficiently wrong to forfeit his right to pass on his surname.
So you see what this program, Gentle Mind, is saying? So evidently, when the lady had the child unmarried, she decided to put the father's last name on the child. So whatever happened throughout the years, now she went to court and decided, no, I want my name on the child. But either way, it says the court denied her request to change her child's name from the father's last name because it said Brianna's father had done nothing sufficiently wrong to forfeit his right to pass on his surname. So what they're saying is, not marrying the mother, that wasn't sufficient wrong for the baby not to have his name. That's a wrong in itself.
I know, right? Y'all right, tell that again so we can know.
Go to Deuteronomy's 22nd chapter. But a program, Gentile Mind says, well, he hadn't done anything wrong to do that. He walked away. Whatever the circumstances were, she wouldn't have to give the child or think about giving the child's name if he had married her or if they hadn't been doing this outside of marriage. Deuteronomy 22nd chapter. So a program, Gentile Mind does not explain to children what and how valuable their virginity is. Or the circumstances under which it is to be given up. Which is marriage. That's the only circumstance. But a program, Gentile Mind does not sit children down, boys and girls, and explain what virginity is and how valuable it is. They say nothing about it. And I think about my own upbringing where my father's mother, she stepped in because after my father and mother got divorced after a couple of years because they had the children as teenagers, and then got married and tried to make it work out. It was just too much stacked against them. And so they ended up getting a divorce. And in South Carolina, there was a pastor and his wife that wanted to take me and my older brother. And then 2 other families wanted to take my younger brother and another one, my older sister. So rather than have us split up, bless Yahweh, my father's mother, even though she had raised 7 children after her husband passed, early in life, and she said no, not to break the family up. Then I'll raise them. But this is what happens when people break Yahweh's law. Then all these other people got to get involved if they have a heart to help the children, so the children don't suffer as much as they're gonna suffer. They're gonna suffer. Because that Gentile program mind has put that stigma on. Deuteronomy, the 22nd chapter, and let's read verses 20 to 21. Deuteronomy chapter 22. So we're looking at how Yahweh says how valuable virginity is. And the circumstances under which it is to be relinquished. Or given up.
Say it like it is, bro.
Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 20 to 21.
Praise
And you're not going to hear this anywhere else except in the Bible.
From Yah.
Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 20 to 21. Reads.
Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 20. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, verse 21, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she had wrought folly in Yisrael, to play the whore in her father's house. So shalt thou put evil away from among you.
So this lesson is about putting away evil from among people that program Gentile mind. It said, but if this thing be imminent, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel. So this is talking about on the wedding night, after the husband and wife have married officially.
Tell like this,
And
Ron.
then they consummate their marriage with the sexual act.
Tell like this, Ron.
Then the father goes and he inspects the bed sheets to make sure that the blood of the covenant is there. And then, so that's what he's talking about, the tokens of
Tell
her
like this,
virginity.
Ron, so we can know.
A Gentile program mind doesn't tell children anything about that. And then I recall from my childhood how my grandmother, when we became teenagers, she would go in and she would count the napkins each month.
Okay.
I guess to keep track and make sure that they were all there. But she never said anything
Right.
about, we saw her counting the napkins and we knew it had something to do with us getting pregnant, but we didn't understand
All right.
how that figured in. Like, why was she counting the napkins? Like, what exactly does that mean? And we had no idea
Right. And
what
explain.
that meant. It said, they shall, if the tokens of her virginity are not evidence on those sheets, because then she's perpetrating and she's acting like she's something she's not.
Right.
It says then they should bring this woman out to the door of her Abba Bayit, and the men Adam of her city shall stone her with stones as she moveth. Why? Because she has worked foolishness in Israel. That's wickedness.
Right.
To play the whore
Yep.
in her Abba Bayit.
Okay.
So shall thou put away Ra from among you.
Yes. Sin.
So shall you understand,
Yep.
even though you're not back in that generation.
Right.
When Yahweh opens up your eyes,
Hallelujah.
you can't go and change the past. I can't go and change the past.
Right.
But I can live right today.
Yes. And teach it.
And I can let other people
That's
know
it,
what Yahweh
brother.
says.
That's it.
Not in a condemnatory way, but
No.
in a way of truth.
That's it. Hallelujah.
Truth and love, because
That's
that's
it.
what Yahweh wants.
That's it.
So Yahweh commanded parents to raise their children He entrusted to them
Yes. That's right.
in a consistent environment.
Yeah.
So they develop a secure attachment to them
Yes.
and to their world.
Hallelujah.
So what happened in my life was I had an insecure attachment to my parents.
Yeah.
Why? Because they were children when they had me.
Right.
They didn't know if they loved me and they did the best they could, but really they didn't know how to raise me
No,
and
they
how
did
to
not.
train me and what to teach me.
Right.
And I remember how I regretted so much my whole life that there was no baby picture of me that was found anywhere.
Right.
I don't even know if they ever took one, but I always regret it. The first picture I saw was when I was about 6 years old.
Okay.
And other than that, there are no pictures.
Right.
And again, it's because
Yep.
children all out of order
Yep.
with Yahweh. So a programmed Gentile-minded society raises most of its children with this insecure attachment to their parents, to where they don't know what's going to happen one day to the
Right.
next. And it wasn't like we didn't have food, we had clothes, we had shelter, but
Right.
that emotional stability, that emotional. And my whole life, I grew up in my family. They loved me, they took good care of me, went to school, got my education, but never once did I hear them say, I love you.
Right.
Not once. So let's read www.verywellmind.com. So what is this insecure attachment? See, because your parents are supposed to make you feel secure about the world and secure about yourself and who you are.
Yes.
But most people didn't get that.
Tell like it is.
Why? Because most people don't know Yahweh.
Right.
Most people just winging it. Most people just going off of what they think or what their parents did. And if their parents didn't know Yahweh, they did the best they could.
Yes, they did.
But they still missed it.
Yes, Tell
So
like it is, bro.
that produced some insecurity
Yes, it does.
rather than security.
Right.
Okay, so let's read this verywellmind.com.
According to www.verywellmind.com, an insecure attachment is people with an insecure attachment style generally have trouble making emotional connections with others.
Yeah.
They can be aggressive or unpredictable toward their loved ones, a behavior that is rooted in the lack of consistent love and affection they experience in their childhood.
That's it.
All right, so my parents were still developing.
Right.
Starting at 15 and 16, they had, 5 more years before they would be grown and stabilize out. So people with this insecure attachment style have trouble making emotional connections with others. And they can be aggressive or unpredictable toward their loved ones. And it comes from, it says, is rooted in a lack of consistent love and affection in their childhood.
That's it.
And then they can't get it because when the children start too young, or when people are coming together and they figure, hey, we just having fun. This is just what everybody does because they've been programmed to do this.
So like this, right?
And then all of a sudden, the girl or the woman is pregnant.
Yeah.
So then that throws a what they call it, a monkey wrench in there. Go to Proverbs 22nd chapter. So I grew up with that insecure attachment.
Yeah.
Proverbs 22nd chapter.
And
most people in this world do.
Yep.
Proverbs chapter 22.
Hallelujah. Thank you for your revelation.
It's supposed to be secure, but it couldn't be secure because they put the cart before the horse.
That's it.
And that's what happens every time you break Yahweh's law.
That's it.
Proverbs 22nd chapter. It can't end up right. Now, I take that back. It can end up right if after my parents did all that, then they came to Yahweh.
Yeah, that's it.
So then he could turn that thing around.
Yes, he will.
But what happened was he blessed me. I'm the one that came to Yahweh.
Yeah, hallelujah.
Then I was able to go back to my family and tell them about Yahweh.
Hallelujah.
So he turned it around that way.
Yes.
Proverbs 22, let's read verse 6, please. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6. Read.
Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go.
Yep.
And when he is old, he will not depart from it.
So then when you says train up a zakar in the way he should go, what's the way he should go? Yahweh's way. What Yahweh says. And when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Nope.
Now he may do something in between as a child, but it says he's going to come back when he's got that foundation. But that training up a child, that's that consistent emotional support. Not just on again, off again, and however a parent feels like they fall in when they over angry or whatever because they're immature, or they don't want to be bothered because they got other stuff to do, or they want to run after the single man or the single woman because they're not together, so they're putting all this stuff in front of the child. Train up a child in the way he should go.
Okay.
So in my case, my parents, because it was my grandmother, she's older, she had already raised 7 children. They all turned out nice. All of them got married, and all of them ended up doing fine, productive individuals. And so she was tired by the time here we come, the 4 of us. But she raised us, and she made us outstanding individuals.
Praise the mighty Yahweh.
But now, they spent more time telling me what I did wrong than what I did right.
Okay.
So that added to that insecurity.
Yeah.
And because that was just how they didn't have that balance. See, when you have the man and the woman and they're married, then they get that balance to where they can know, okay, you know what, don't quite say that just that harsh, just kind of pull back, and then the man comes in and he deals with it on a discipline level. So the balance wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I heard more about what I did wrong than what I did right. So now let's look at this program Gentile mind, because Yahweh lets us know what the damage control is
Okay.
from how we grew up when we come to him and he opens our
Yes.
eyes. But now, look at this program, Gentile Mind, and what it's still doing
Uh-huh.
to the children in the world.
I know, right?
All right, let's read as of 2009.
Huh.
As of 2009, 750,000 teenage girls become pregnant in
Wow.
the United States every year. Teenage pregnancy costs the U.S. more than $9.1 billion a year. The U.S. has the highest rate of teenage pregnancy of any developed country.
Now we call this a developed country, right?
Right.
So in other words, the westernized country calls as progress
Yeah.
in one area has led to downfall in
Right.
another area. Why?
Right.
Because they're cutting Yahweh out.
Right.
They're
That's
leaving
it.
Yahweh out. They
That's
think
it.
Yahweh has nothing. What Yahweh said at the beginning of this sermon, they think Yahweh has nothing to do with their regular life.
Tell like it
They
is, Bob.
think he's not supposed to be involved. So now we're going to read. There was some Gentile girls several years ago, and they all decided they were going to get pregnant in high school.
Huh.
And so we're going to read the statistics of what happened with them, and they did. They all got pregnant, and they had this whatever club or agreement, and they all did it. So now we're going to read the results and what's happening with the babies that they had.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, sis.
The Gloucester, say that? Gloucester?
Go ahead.
The
Gloucester.
Gloucester teens being before the camera. It is their moment. They hold their babies. It's rough, but they get by. They say, motherhood gives their lives meaning and purpose. It is their business. A friend of one mom says, the teens are just starting their families sooner than most.
Sound like a knucklehead to me.
I know,
All
right?
right, go ahead.
High school counselors and health providers speak out. I needed somebody to love me unconditionally and someone who I could love unconditionally. Pregnant teens often tell them. It's the new thing, says Leslie of her friends. Everyone having kids. Young moms are isolated from the teen community as they are required to stay at home to care for their babies, say Dr. Brian Orr. Teen moms interviewed are upbeat at first. Eventually, they share mixed feelings and regrets. The fate of several teens and their babies is revealed. Some girls live with their parents after giving birth, grateful for the backup, childcare. One teen without family support seeks public assistance. Several babies suffer health problems. Two of the girls are second-generation teen mothers. Another faces her family's legacy of domestic violence. Some new moms finish high schools, others drop out. Sarah smiled holding her second baby. She lives in a cooperative housing with her children's father and his brother's family. Another girl works part-time at Dunkin' Donuts. A teen father works in a bake yard to support his new son. 17-year-old Leslie got pregnant at age 15. She never went to high school. It's hard, she says, smiling through her tears. It's not fun, changing diapers, waking up. Her son's father abandoned them. Leslie braids hair to pay for diapers.
So you see, they're passing on to these babies that insecure attachment to parenthood. Why? Because they're children themselves. Go to Psalms 102. So the Savior's mother understood having sex unmarried and getting pregnant was unacceptable to Yahweh. It was unacceptable to her society and her fiancé. Psalms 102. Through her relationship with Yahweh, she had an earned, secure adult attachment. So she had that security. She got it
Yes.
from her relationship with Yahweh.
That's it.
And we're
Tell
also
her,
going to
Rob.
find out her family raised her in a righteous way.
Right,
They
right.
knew Yahweh.
That's it. Hallelujah.
Psalms 102.
Praise the mighty God for his revelation knowledge.
We're going to read verses 12 to 16.
Hallelujah.
Psalms chapter 102.
Hallelujah.
But she understood, accepting what Yahweh was asking her to do and getting pregnant with Yahshua.
Right, right.
She understood it was unacceptable, other than Yahweh had approached her to do it.
Right, right.
All right, Psalm 102, let's read verses 12 to 16.
Hallelujah.
Psalms chapter 102 and verse 12. But thou, O Yahweh, shalt endure forever,
Yes.
and thy remembrance unto all generations. Verse 13. Thou shalt arise and have mercy upon Zion, for the time to favor her, yea, the set time is come.
So what Yahweh is saying in his word says, but thou, O Yahweh, shalt endure forever,
Yes.
and thy remembrance unto all generations. So in every generation, Yahweh's going to have people standing up,
Yeah.
teaching his righteous ways, and letting the program Gentile-minded people know it hasn't changed. It
Right.
will never change.
Never.
He said, Yahweh, you shall arise and have our seed upon Zion, for the
Yeah.
time to uphold her, yea, the set time is come. And that is the time to teach Yahweh's truth and
Yeah.
to stand up for Yahweh's standards, no matter who doesn't understand them, or they will seek to understand them if they want to.
Right, right.
And then if they don't, it's their choice.
That's it.
Yahweh
Y'all
gave us
right.
all that freedom of choice.
Yes, he does.
Once we hit the age of 20.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you're under the age of 20, then really you can look at it as a form of rape for these boys and girls.
Uh-huh.
Like my father and mother, that was a form of rape
Uh-huh.
because they didn't have the ability to give the consent.
Right.
They were just going off the Gentile program
Right,
mind.
right.
And with my mother's father, he had died when she was young also. And her mother moved to New York, and she was being raised by her grandmother, who was blind. And so she was just kind of on her own
Right.
after her mother moved to New York.
Right.
And I'm not sure what the circumstances were. I'm sure she wanted her to come to New York too because she took her older brother with her. But either way, here's two families where their fathers are missing.
Right, right.
So they had two families to begin with, but then you had two widows because their husbands had passed.
Right, right.
All right, verse 14.
Verse 14. For thou servants take pleasure in her stones, and favor the dust thereof. Verse 15. So the heathen shall fear the name of Yahweh, and all the kings of the earth thy glory. Verse 16. When Yahweh shall build up Zion, he shall appear in his glory.
This is what he's doing now, building up Zion so they can stand up and be living a righteous life like
That's
Yahweh
it.
is telling them to.
Hallelujah.
Said, for thy Ebed take pleasure in her sewer, her
Uh-huh.
stones.
Uh-huh.
So we are those building blocks that Yahweh is building up.
Yes.
And kabod the dust thereof. So the heathen shall reverence thy Shem, O Yahweh, and all Hamelech of Ha'eret thy kabod. Why? The glory shines forth from Yahweh
Yes.
when you're keeping his
Yes.
commandments, when you're doing his will.
Tell like it is,
When you're
Ron.
being that example of a believer
Yes.
in word and deed.
That's it.
Says, when Yahweh shall build up Zion, he shall appear in his
Uh-huh.
kabod. And his glory is appearing in all of us.
Yes.
Because he's building us up.
Yes.
And we're standing up and we're living right.
Yes.
So Yahshua's mother knew what Yahweh's perfect will was.
Uh-huh.
And she felt secure in submitting to his will,
Right,
even
right.
though she understood that Gentile programming
Yeah.
was going to have people look at her like she was a whore.
I know,
Like
right?
she had been whoring around.
Right, right. Tell like it is, Ron.
And she knew she was going to be criticized.
Yep.
So now let's read what Very Well Mind says about a secure attachment,
Okay.
which we were supposed to get from our
Yeah,
parents in
yeah, yeah.
childhood.
Right.
But Yahweh is so wonderful that if we missed it in childhood, he gives it to us when we come to him.
Yes. Become his child.
Okay, go ahead, sis.
www.verywellmind.com says the strategy for creating an earned, secure adult attachment style involves reconciling childhood experiences and making sense of the impact a person's past has on their present and future.
All right,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, yeah.
it says a secure adult attachment is gotten by the strategy for getting it, creating an earned secure adult attachment style.
Yep.
Involves reconciling childhood experiences
Yep.
and making sense of the impact a person's past has had on their present and future.
That's right.
So when Yahweh comes, He opens our eyes. My parents weren't bad people.
Right.
But Yahweh opened my eyes to the fact that they should not have been having children
That's it.
at 15 and 16
That's it.
and being unmarried.
That's it.
First thing is 15 and 16.
I know, right?
And then the second thing was being unmarried.
Right.
So I had to look at that in a neutral sense
Yeah.
and not be immature, blaming them. Well, they
I know,
shouldn't have done
right?
that. No.
I know, right?
Yahweh wants me to say yes and to look at it
Right.
in the right way. They were just programming. They were just doing what most people do.
Right.
Just going with the flow.
Yeah, yeah.
And they just assumed it was going to turn out right. But so Yahweh, he plays catch up with us
Yeah, yeah.
to where we look at it in a neutral way.
Yeah.
We don't place blame, but at the same time, we understand that's something that should have never
That's
happened.
right. Tell like it is, Ron.
So now in my life, after I come to Him, then He shows me,
Yes.
okay, so don't do like they did.
Yeah, right.
But now I did get caught up in
Right.
that. And as I told you that I did end up having getting pregnant when I was
Right.
19. I still wasn't at the age of accountability.
Yeah, yeah.
But then my parents decided to take me to have an abortion. My father did.
Right.
Because my mother was in Philadelphia and she wasn't allowed to pretty much, talk to any of us. But that came with that insecure attachment.
Right.
And then not understanding, like I said, my grandmother would count the sanitary napkins, but she wouldn't sit us down and explain.
Right.
What's going on? What does that mean?
Right.
All right, but either way, Yahweh brought me through all that.
Yeah.
And so I'm not blaming them, and I never sat down and actually had the talk with them.
Right.
But I'm sure that my father regretted me having that abortion because what happened was I never had children.
Yeah, right. It was
So it hurt him.
Right.
He never told me, but I understood.
Oh, yeah.
Because I understood he loved me, and he knew that it was something that he could have prevented or should have prevented. So we are given Yahshua's mother's natural background. Let's go to Luke, the 1st chapter. So she had a believing family.
Yeah.
So she had Yahweh in her family.
Yep.
So she had the advantage that I didn't and my parents didn't have. But I got it now.
Yes.
And then he got it before he passed. Before he went to wait on the resurrection.
Hallelujah.
Luke, the 1st chapter. And then we had a loving relationship and good things. And I used to give him pedicures after I went to beauty school and massage his feet and everything. So everything turned out just lovely.
Yeah. Just as
Yahweh came into my life.
Right.
And then I could see things.
Hallelujah.
Right.
As it is written.
Yes. Luke chapter 1, let's read verse 27, please.
Hallelujah.
Luke chapter 1 and
Hallelujah.
verse 27 reads.
Luke chapter 1 and verse 27. To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Yosef of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Miriam.
All right, so now we're looking at Yahshua's mother's natural background.
All right.
It says, this talking about her, to a virgin, engaged to a Adam whose name was Yosef of Habayit of Dawid. This talking about the house of King David.
Tell like it is, bro.
Yahweh said he had a heart like his.
Yeah.
And so she came from a righteous lineage, and they were studying the Old Testament scriptures and teaching their children how to live right and how to do right.
Yes.
Go to First Chronicles, the 17th chapter.
Hallelujah.
So let's look at this house of David. So she came from a strong house.
Yeah.
First Chronicles, 17th chapter.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
First Chronicles chapter 17, we want to read verse 1 to 2.
Hallelujah.
First Chronicles chapter
Praise
17, verses 1 to 2 reads.
First
Hallelujah.
Chronicles chapter 17 and verse 1. Now it came to pass as David sat in his house, that David said to Nathan the prophet, Lo, I dwell in a house of cedar, but the ark of the covenant of Yahweh remaineth under curtains. Verse 2. Then Nathan said unto David, Do all that is in thy heart, for Elohim is with thee.
Yes.
All right, praise the mighty
Yes.
God. So here is, we're looking at this, how Miriam came from the house of King Dawid. He says, so now it came to pass as Dawid sat in his bed, that Dawid amar to Natan Hanabi, Lo, I dwell in a bed of cedar, but the ark of Habarith of Yahweh remained on the curtain. So here's Dawid wanting to build Yahweh's temple.
Right, right.
Then Natan amar unto Dawid, do all this in your lay, for
Yes.
Elohim is with thee.
Yes.
So here's the prophet telling Dawid, hey, your house is blessed. Yahweh
Yes.
is with you.
Yes.
All right, let's the same chapter, First Chronicles 17. Let's skip down to verses 11 to 12.
Hallelujah.
First Chronicles, the 17th chapter,
Hallelujah.
verses 11 to 12. We're just looking at Mary's
Right, right.
background,
Right,
her
right.
descendants, her forefathers.
Hallelujah.
All right, her lineage. First Chronicles 17, verses 11 to 12 reads.
Okay. Verse 11. And it shall come to pass when thy days be expired that thou must go to be with thy fathers, that I will raise up thy seed after thee, which shall be of thy sons, and I will establish his kingdom. Verse 12. He shall build me an house, and I will establish his throne forever.
So now in between the verses that we read, verse 2 and verse 11, Dawid found out that Yahweh didn't want him to build a house.
Right, right.
And he's letting this, here's the prophet letting him know that, yeah, the temple's going to be built,
Right, right.
but now Yahweh doesn't want you to build it.
Uh-huh.
He said, it shall come to pass when thy yam be expired. So Dawid saying, when you go wait for the resurrection, Dawid,
Right, right.
thou must go to be with thy Abba, that I will raise up thy seed after thee, which shall be of thy bond, and I will enter his Malkut. He shall build me a bayit, talking about David's son, and it was King Shelomah that built it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I will establish his throne forever. So Yahweh is saying, but your throne, your house is going to be established forever, David. All right, let's skip down again, the same chapter, verses 15 to 17.
Hallelujah.
So we just want to see what kind of house, what kind of descendants did Mary come from,
Right, right.
that enabled her to stand up and say, okay, Yahweh, make me be pregnant
Right, right.
by Ruach HaKodesh.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll withstand whatever pressure comes against me in this Gentile-minded society.
Yeah, right.
First Chronicles 17, verses 15 to
Hallelujah.
17.
Verse 15. According to all these words and according to all this vision, so did Nathan speak unto David. Verse 16. And David the king came and sat before Yahweh and said, Who am I, O Yahweh Elohim? And what is my house that thou hast brought me hitherto?
Praise the mighty Yah. So you see how Dawid, he's really touched by Yahweh.
Yeah.
And he's saying that he would think on him and tell him how his house will be before him forever.
Right.
According to all these Dabarim and according to all this vision, did Natan Amar unto Dawid. And Dawid Amelech came and sat before Yahweh and Amar, Who am I, O Yahweh Elohim? And what is my bayit, like my family,
I know,
that
right?
thou hast brought me hitherto, that you said that it will always stand before you.
Yes.
He's saying, what a blessing.
Yes.
Verse 17.
Verse 17. And yet this was a small thing in thy eyes, O Elohim, for thou hast also spoken of thy servant's house for a great while to come,
Hallelujah.
and hast regarded me according to the estate of a man of high degree,
Hallelujah.
O Yahweh Elohim.
Hallelujah.
All right, so he's
Praise
just thanking Yahweh and he's just praising him that he blessed his house and he let him know his house was going to be blessed and continue on forever.
Hallelujah.
Let's go to Isaiah, the 22nd chapter.
Praise on.
Isaiah, 22nd
His
chapter.
promises to us.
Praise Yahweh. Now we're going to look at one of his descendants that came after King Dawid.
Okay.
And we're going to see how Yahweh is still reminding
Yes.
his descendants about how their house is blessed.
Yes.
And it said that virgin was of the house of David.
Yes.
Isaiah the 22nd chapter, we want to read verses 20 to 23.
Hallelujah.
Isaiah
Praise him.
chapter 22 and verses 20 to 23
Praise God.
reads.
Isaiah chapter 22 and verse 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah. Verse 21. And I will clothe him with thy robe and strengthen him with thy girdle, and I will commit thy government into his hands. And he shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to the house of Yehudah. Verse 22. And the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder. So he shall open and none shall shut, and he shall shut and none shall open.
Praise the mighty Yah for his word. So we're looking at this man in King David's lineage.
All right.
Eliakim. He said he's going to give him the key of how David will I lay upon his shoulder.
All right.
So he shall open and none shall shut.
Yes.
And he shall shut and none shall open.
Yes.
So Yahweh is letting them know about that spiritual power that
Yes.
he put within that righteous lineage. Like
Hallelujah.
he's put in all of our lineage
Yes.
after we come back to him.
Yes.
Like I said, the righteousness wasn't on my parents
All right.
when they were in the midst of doing this as children.
All right.
But Yahweh is so merciful. Once I came into
Yes.
it, once you came into it,
Yes.
then the righteousness has reached back now, and it's turning everything
Yes.
around. It's
Hallelujah.
not changing the past, but it's helping us to live a better future
Right.
and to see it for what it was.
Just as it was written.
Verse 23, people doing stuff without Yahweh.
I know, right?
Thinking wrong without
I
Yahweh.
know.
Verse 23.
Verse 23. And I will fasten him as a nail in a sure place,
Hallelujah.
and he shall be for a glorious throne to his father's house.
So it's talking about King David's house. I'm going to
Alright.
fasten this man as a nail in a sure place. That's what Yahweh says we are. We're
Yes.
nails in the holy
Yes.
place.
Yes, we
And
are.
he shall be for a kabod throne to his Abba.
Yes.
Go to Zechariah, the 12th chapter. Zechariah, the 12th chapter. So the house of David had family members throughout their generations who rejected a programmed Gentile mind. This is not something that's new come on the scene.
Right.
In 2022, this program,
Right.
Gentile mind, has always been around.
Yeah, yeah.
Zechariah, 12th chapter.
Hallelujah.
We're going to read verse 10.
Praise him.
Zechariah, the 12th chapter.
Praise him.
And verse 10 reads,
Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 10. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn.
so here we're talking about the house of David,
Yeah,
and it's talking about Yahshua
All right.
coming through that
That's
lineage.
it.
It says, now will pour upon Habita David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, Haruach of Hain and
Yeah.
supplications, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced. Now this is talking about Yahshua,
All right.
which came through David's lineage.
Yeah, yeah.
And they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only bond, and shall be in bitterness for him as a cod that is in bitterness for his firstborn.
All right.
And Yahshua was Mary's firstborn.
Hallelujah.
Go to John the 8th chapter. So Yahshua's mother was one of the faithful in the house of David or
All
David.
right.
John the 8th chapter. And she
Hallelujah.
had developed into a healthy, spiritual-minded young woman.
That's it. Hallelujah.
But she understood that Joseph could, in righteousness, refuse to marry her and leave her a single mother to raise Yahshua.
Right.
She understood that. John chapter 8. I'm going to read verse 41.
Praise the mighty Yah.
But she had developed into a healthy, spiritual-minded young woman.
Right.
It was in her family, it was taught her, and she obeyed and
Right.
This is why Yahweh chose her to be the virgin that would bring his son into the
Hallelujah.
earth.
Praise him.
But still, her fiance could have walked away and not
Right.
married her and left her to be a single mother. Like so many have done with their Gentile mind.
Right.
John 8:41 reads,
Praise him.
John chapter 8 and verse 41. Ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, We be not born of fornication. We have one Abba, even Elohim.
so now this is after Yahshua got grown.
Right.
So you know, if they're telling him that you were B-A-S-T-A-R-D, in other words, born of fornication, that's what that means,
Yeah.
where unmarried people come together
Right.
and have sex, and then the woman gets pregnant. He said, you do the deeds of your Abba. This is Yahshua telling them, you all are wrong. And then they are to him, hey, we didn't come, we're not a B-A-S-T-A-R-D.
Right.
We didn't come
Right.
from our mother whoring around.
Right.
This is what they're telling him.
Right.
And he was grown, so you know
Right.
good well he heard it his whole life.
Yeah.
So, but Yahweh strengthened Yahshua's parents and him to understand the circumstances of
Yes.
his birth were in complete holiness.
Yes.
Go to Matthew, the first chapter.
Hallelujah.
Matthew, the first chapter.
Hallelujah.
Or Matthew. So Yahweh caused him to understand the circumstances of his
Yep,
birth were in complete holiness. Now, Miriam or Mary knew it at the beginning,
Right.
but her fiance had to catch up.
Right.
And if he hadn't been a righteous man, he would just walked away from
Yeah,
her, like
like it is, bro.
the Gentile-minded people do today.
Yes,
But
that's it.
because he was a righteous man, Yahweh could talk to him
Yeah.
and quicken him to what was happening.
Hallelujah.
That Mary was not playing the whore.
Right.
Matthew, the first chapter, let's read verses 18 to 19.
Hallelujah.
Matthew,
Praise him.
chapter 1, verses 18 to
Praise
19
him.
reads.
Matthew chapter 1 and verse 18. Now, the birth of Yahshua Mashiach was on this wise. When as his mother Miriam was espoused to Joseph before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Spirit. Verse 19. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privately.
All right, so it says now these are the circumstances concerning how Yahshua was born.
Right.
Now, the birth of Yahshua Mashiach was on this Karkam. When his Miriam was engaged or espoused to Yosef,
Right.
before they came together. In other words, before they had sexual
That's like it
relations,
is, bro. So they should know.
she became pregnant. She was found with Zakar of Ruach HaKodesh,
Right.
Yahweh's power source. Then Yosef, her husband. Look at that.
Right.
It's before they got married, but it said Yosef was her husband. Then Yosef, her husband, being a Sadiq man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privately.
Right,
So
right.
he still wanted to protect her
Right.
and not just call her out
I
and,
know, right.
the way Gentile-minded people do.
Yeah, tell
But
like
he
it
was
is,
just
bro.
going to do it nice and quiet. And so, but you notice that Yahweh said that he was a husband
Right.
before they got married.
Right.
And so he understood what that meant, even though he was engaged to her. Yahweh called him her husband, and he understood he was her husband before he married her. So let's read this English word husband, where it says that her husband was minded to put her away privately. Okay?
The English word husband is the Greek word found at Strong's Blue Letter Bible number 435, Vine's Expository Dictionary of the New Testament words define husband as denoting in general a man, an adult male, which generically denotes a human being, male or female. It is used of man in various relations, with the context deciding the meaning, and it signifies a husband. It says, see man.
So what Yahweh is saying is, every man, when he is 20, is a husband.
Right.
And every woman, we're going to see, he called Miriam a wife before she got married to Yahshua.
Okay.
Go to Matthew, the 1st chapter, and we want to read verses 20 to 21. Matthew chapter 1, verses 20 to 21. So it says this word husband means man in general, an adult male. And again, an adult male is 20 and above.
Y'all right. Tell like
Matthew,
this.
1st chapter, verses 20 to 21 reads.
Matthew chapter 1 and verse 20. But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Yahshua, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Miriam thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. Verse 21, and she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahshua, for he shall save his people from their sins.
So here Yahweh wired Yahshua up about what was happening.
Right.
While Yahshua was thinking on these things, behold, a Malach of Yahweh appeared unto him in a dream, Amar, Yahshua, Laban of Dawid. So he's of the house of Dawid too.
Yeah.
He said, fear not to take unto thee Miriam thy Isha. So look, he's calling her a wife.
Right.
Here Yahshua was deciding should he marry her anyway. But he's saying she was his wife.
Right.
But that which is conceived in her is of Ruach HaKodesh. She shall bring forth the bond, and thou shalt cry his Shem Yahshua, for he shall Yahshua his am from there Hatah.
Yes.
Skip down to verse 24. Matthew the 1st chapter and verse 24.
Praise him.
Verse 24, then Yahshua being raised from sleep, did as the angel of Yahweh had bidden him, and took unto him his wife.
So here we see again. It says Yahshua, he obeyed, he heard what the Malach told him, and he knew that Miriam had not been doing anything illegal.
Right.
And he got up from sleep, he did as the Malach of Yahweh had bidden him, and he took unto him his Isha.
Right.
So he married her.
Yep.
That's what it means, took unto him his Isha.
Right.
Because we may not get to it, but we'll find out that he did not have sexual relations with Miriam until after Yahshua was born.
Right.
He understood the sanctity
Yes.
of the marriage bed. He understood what Yahweh was doing as far as Yahshua.